Hey, this is DJ, and here is another reference lap for the Rookie Mazda series. This time we're on Tsukuba, and it's a relatively short lap, but there's a lot of little technical tips and tricks. So we're just gonna dive right into it. I've taken your feedback from last week and made the foot pedal a little bit bigger. I've moved this and made it smaller, and I have moved this little bit. So if you have any more feedback to help make the videos better for you, just leave a comment. And if this is something you'd like to see more and you stumbled upon it somehow, just think about subscribing. All right, let's dive right into it. So first things first, something I see a lot in official races is people don't use this green. Now it is a little slipperier, but you should be basically done with your turn or the turning of the car by the time the car is skating out here to the edge, because we want to carry as much speed down the straightaway as possible. Just, get back to the track, because this grass kind of grabs you. It'll throw you to the wolves. All right, corner one, very tricky. I really don't have a good reference for this. I think it's mostly you use kind of like this middle point of the hill. You see how the hill kind of like ramps up. There's a point where the hill starts to ramp up a little bit more. Maybe you can use this like light mark on the wall over here. But basically we're just trying to get the nose in, just keep like a constant brake pressure. We're just trying to slow the car down as a decreasing radius turn. So we're just trying to get the car slowed down, but have the nose pivoted into the corner so we can get to gas as soon as possible. You'll basically be riding along this inside curbing. If you can get your right front tire up on the curbing, I find that in the Miata, especially on the baseline setup, it helps a lot. So it can make the car a little loose on exit, so maybe kind of pick a trajectory where you get that right front tire up on the curbing just to help get it pivoted. But as you're leaving the turn, the right front tire falls off the curbing. And you'll see me putting the inside front tire on curbs in different parts of the lap. So basically, you're going to want to, we've gotten the car turned in, you've got it turned. You're going to want to get on power the moment you think you'll barely be able to stay on track and have this wheel unwind. So we get on power, we let the car unwind. We don't want it all pinched up with the wheel, and we barely don't go off track here. Really delicate movements of the steering wheel here. We want to scrub the least amount of speed as possible. And coming into this turn, basically when my right tire is at this little dirt patch over here, right here, when it's at like the edge of this dirt patch, that's when I'm hitting the brakes. Make sure your car's not in the dirt on the right as you hit the brakes, or things get a little wild in this corner. So this corner is really important to stay right on the inside, hooked to this inside curbing. And this is another good one where if you can get your inside front tire up on that curbing, it's really going to help the car turn. So right there, I'm getting my tire up on there. And right at the bottom of the banking here is where you're going to have the most amount of grip, because as you go wider and wider on this racetrack, it gets less and less on camber. The most on camber part of the track, which means the track's leaning in the direction that you want to go, is right at the bottom here, like right next to this curbing. Again, if you can get your inside front tire up on the curbing, especially as you're about to leave, as you see, iRacing did a beautiful job putting these tire markings here. And generally, if they're there in the game, they're there in real life. And if it seems like there's a lot of extra tire marks on a curb, that's probably because that's the place you want to be. See, and as you should be leaving this curbing, you can see the tire marks kind of stop, right? So, and this is the same thing as turn one. We're getting on power. The moment we think we'll barely stay on track and you're unwinding the car, you don't want to go into a slide and ruin that momentum down the straightaway. We're going to hustle the car back to the left here. And you're going to use just a tiny bit of brake to help pull the nose into the corner. This sometimes I miss the inside curbing, sometimes I hit it. I think overall, if you hit the inside curbing, you're increasing the radius of the turn. You're using more of the track. I think it can be faster. It really upsets the baseline setup. It's kind of a toss-up whether you hit it or you don't. They're both kind of the same speed. But what is important is that you let the car trail all the way to the edge of this curb, even get your left side tires up on it a little bit. And then whatever time you have left, you're going to want to move the car to the right. And it's not even going to be a lot because you're running out of time. You're going 72 miles an hour and you need to turn in like here. So you're just trying to make a tiny bit of space so you can turn into that turn, because you don't want to be back here. Let's see if we can zoom this up. You don't want to be back here and have to wait to turn in because you'll run into the grass and the car will get a little wild. And then through this turn, it's just really important that you open the wheel up and keep your foot in it, basically. On the first lap or two, it might be a little sketchy, so it might have to ease off the throttle a little bit as you're waiting for the tires to come up to temp. But just open up the wheel, just let the car trail out here. Again, if there's a bunch of tire marks on the curbing, that's because it's there in real life. And if it's there in real life, it's probably where most of the cars are going. So it's a really great tool to use worn parts of the track as a reference to kind of how you think it should be driven. And I brake just as this green thing's ending. I got some bad decompression. Okay, never mind. That was just VLC not being that great. So anyways, we get on the brakes right before this green thing ends, and this is the same as turn 2. I think it's turn 2, the first left-hander of the lap, where all the camber is right on the inside. See how up here the track's not really leaning. There's not a lot of banking here, but the farther down into this little bowl you go, there's more and more banking. It's the same thing. We want to get right in there, dip that inside front tire up on the curbing, and we're getting on throttle the moment we can where we barely don't run out of track. Basically on Tsukuba, once you get one of the turns down, it's just that turn over and over and over again. And this is the most fun corner on the track. You're braking just after this concrete block here. Gonna go down to third. And you did this corner right when you don't have multiple throttle inputs. If the momentum of the car allows you to keep the nose planted with just a tiny bit of brake. We'll go back and see the amount of brake. Or we won't. See, I have a double input there. So I left time on the table in that corner. If the momentum of the car allows you to barely hold the brake to keep that front end of the car pulling in toward the apex, and right when you get on throttle is the perfect time to let the car trail out, then you did it right. So if you find that you keep having to get on throttle, and then the car trails out, try coming in a little later, a little hotter, and balance the car on the nose with the brake. Now, what I'm asking is, it's not an easy thing to do, but it really is the difference between running 106s and running 105s, 104s, is balancing the car on the nose with the brake into a corner. So we're going to just watch the whole lap. I'm going to thank you for watching the video and enjoying episode 2 of the Rookie Mazda tutorial. And again, subscribe if you like what you saw, and leave a comment if you can help me figure out how to make this better for you. All right, cool. Let's watch it.